How are you today?
Hello, Ethan. We are great. How are you?
Perfect.
Thank you for connecting with us again today.
Absolutely. We have nothing but pleasure to interact with you and your people at this time.
Thank you. Do you have a message for us for today?
Yes, we would start with the idea of all of your experiences, all of your places, time are all based on your frequency, all of the ideas, all of the world that you see and experience. Understand that the receivers that you have, that you call your senses, are merely just a way of interpreting the different vibrations that show up in your reality and allow you to have the experience of the frequencies that you choose to match. So, in your field, when you have the idea of a particular frequency that you keep experiencing and keep having an experience of in your reality. Say you have a repetitive nature of your particular person that shows up and is not quite nice to you. There is inside of your field a frequency that matches them and their expression of needing to express their being. So, in order to work through the idea of integration, which is what many of you have been doing with us when we have been coming through the channel, is working through the idea of integrating those things. Instead of denying them, instead of running away from them, you must look at them and say, what are you teaching me? What sort of lesson have you given me that is allowing me to integrate my essence and my being to be fully more myself? When you act in a more positive way and allow yourself to be more integrated, those vibrations, those river that has less turbulence, less eddies, less movement that causes you to have a more disjointed ride that you flow down will smooth out. Many of these types of discordant frequencies that have been in your experience, the more you integrate their particular energies and allow them to be the lesson and let the lesson move on, you will experience a much smoother ride in your experience all of the time. So give yourself a minute to really look at the particular lessons, the particular frequencies you have allowed into your life to be open for you to reinterpret and integrate into your experience to allow the frequencies that come along with the idea of your life's experience. Because understand, when you start dealing with people like us on a much more face to face basis in your reality, where we integrate with you and connect with you in person, if you do not have these particular frequencies that are actually incorporated, you will experience much higher frequency of these experiences until you are able to integrate them.
Thank you. Could you repeat the last idea, please?
Allow yourself to integrate the particular frequencies that you have in your life in order to stop attracting the negative aspects, the negative experiences.
Thank you. I got it. And it goes the other way where I emit positive frequency, I will attract such.
Yes, but that is more cohesive and synchronistic in nature.
Right. When I'm in the flow, I will attract or my life will unfold in an easier, smoother, more magical way.
Yes, because you're coming from an integrated space.
Right.
That is what many of you have been working through and you have been interacting with us. That is why many of you who do watch these transmissions experience a more smoother ride because you
Yes.
have worked through and you have integrated those aspects of your being and your connection to all that is.
Yes. Thank you. Ethan, when we come across someone who perhaps has not integrated yet or has not realized that it's not the whole self, full self is there, what's a good way to approach it?
Be the example for them. have the will, have the understanding, and knowing that you are an example for those around you that have not quite integrated their experience. Do not think you are better than them. Do not come from a place of arrogance, but come from a place of leadership where you have transformed the ideas of arrogance, of fighting yourself. You show and are the example for those around you that what it looks like to live in an integrated way.
Thank you.
Be humble. Understand that you are acting as an example for others as we are acting an example for you as what it looks like to live from that particular space.
I get it. Thank you. I have a question here. Mate Jelinek. My dreams lately have had futuristic stories to it and always has a battle between two forces. Is this a
Yes,
personal battle or something more? Thanks.
this particular experience is a personal battle and also a memory.
Thank you. Anything else more? Anything else for Mate?
We would ask you and give it some time and allow him to re answer the question. What is happening in the battle? Are you personally in it, or is it just two aspects that you are observing? Move on to another question and follow up the question as we proceed.
Okay. Thank you. I don't see any more questions, but I do have one for you. Earlier today, I was on a roof deck. It's not that high, on the ninth floor. I was laying down in the sun taking a break, and then above me showed a hawk. I
Yes,
managed to take some pictures of the hawk, and then a second hawk showed, and they were trilling together, and then they're gone. And I wanted to ask you, what is the meaning or the symbolism of having a hawk or perhaps two hawks show?
increase your vision. Be patient and allow yourself to fully more inspect your surroundings to decide the path forward.
Thank you. And there was no one else on the deck but me that time,
Yes,
but perhaps someone else saw these hawks. So was this message for me or for anyone else that saw it or for the area maybe?
for you in particular.
Thank you. By increasing the vision, do you mean taking a higher perspective, a more planetary perhaps or cosmic galactic perspective?
Think more locally about your life in general.
I
How would
see.
you like to approach and move forward with your life through your experience? Take a closer look and be willing to decide whether or not something still works for you.
Right. Thank you. And would that be the usual message when seeing hawks, or would that particular message happen at that moment?
That was the particular message for you at that moment.
Thank you. Okay. There are no other questions on the feed at the moment, but I'll ask you another one. I was helping a lady today on a Zoom like half-hour call, and I felt that the message that I was able to give her was correct for her. It wasn't for me, and the lady kind of rejected. She booked the call, but then she rejected the message. It was for her, and it's only once I said, like this is the message for you, but pay attention. That she was willing to pay attention, and then she worked with me. At what point someone comes for help, whether it's for mental emotional support or maybe they need some flour in the kitchen, at one point does one know how much I can help without going too far?
Deliver the information and then be willing to step back. When you are delivering information such as trying to help someone improve their life and improve their experience, you have to be willing to step back and not allow your ego to enter into the actual conversation.
Thank you.
We don't care, not to be insensitive, but when we deliver information to you and your people, we deliver to whoever needs to be here. Whoever needs to hear it is exactly who needs to hear it. And once we are done delivering the information, we step back and we don't give a crap.
Right. Thank you. That's helpful. Mate Jalane came back and said, I was home on another planet catching up with a friend, and we were suddenly attacked by off world enemies.
Yes. That was a memory. As a soul, there have been many wars that have occurred that are interplanetary. That particular soul goes back to the time of the Lyrian systems prior to their diaspora that moved out into the universe. There were reptilian races that did attack that world and try to absorb the resources of that particular system. The world that you remember is no longer around. But the war you see in yourself is a reflection of that particular war that you observed. There are worlds out there that you, as a species, would not quite be ready to experience, that are quite advanced and very dark in nature.
Thank you. Should we be concerned about these dark entities?
No, no. The worlds that are around you currently are not malevolent in nature. The worlds that are helping you integrate and move out into the universe, we are benevolent. We do come here to help you move up in your frequency. That is why we are here now doing these types of sessions with you.
Thank you.
But understand the species that are coming to you now, the different beings such as the Lyrans, the Palladians, us, and many others. We are here to help you. We are the ambassadors. We are the ones that are helping your species to understand how to move out into the universe, into things you are not quite ready for, giving you a chance to acclimate to the idea of moving out into the universe. That is why we do these things these ways.
Thank you. My neighbor here from above told me a couple of days ago that he had a sighting here in
Yes.
Toronto. Metallic like objects, and they're kind of not circling around each other, but circling and then the other way,
Yes.
kind of along an 8 pattern.
Yes.
Would you know if these were extraterrestrial vehicles or balloons?
These are extraterrestrial ships.
Thank you.
Remember, the ships that we have out here come in many different shapes,
Mm,
not just the stereotypical what you think of as flying saucers
right.
or triangle or any other number of shapes.
Thank you. I myself recall that I've seen, it must be 7 or 8 years ago, maybe even 10,
Yes.
similar metallic objects hovering around what looked like around towards the CN Tower right here, and also
Yes.
doing that same movement of kind of going on an 8 pattern back and forth.
Yes.
Are these also were these also extraterrestrials?
Same group.
Same group. Which are
There's no word that translates into their actual language, but in their language, they go, see us.
thank you.
But it is not a typical language that would translate for most humans to be able to understand. Because understand, you have had interactions with different extraterrestrial races that you do know quite many of the names, but there are languages and names for different species of different worlds you could not pronounce.
Fair enough. Thank you. With all this increased sighting activity, at least in my experience, it's more of a personal basis. The neighbor tells me, but it's not so much on the airwaves yet.
Yes. As we have said in the past, there needs to be a certain level of interaction with your people. And even the Bashar has said in the past that many of the types of interactions that will happen after the beginning of the window of open contact will be on a much more personal basis. So the types of interactions you are starting to see currently are more of that variety, where it is more distant at first, and eventually it'll become closer and closer and give a person an opportunity to decide whether they would like to have more types of interactions. So that's why you are seeing these types of things.
Thank you. What would be the? Let me rephrase. Is there a specific role for these objects I described in our evolution towards galactic species? In other words, when the Lyrans are here, do they have a specific role? And when your people are here, there's a specific role, and so on and so forth.
Yes. Would you like us to expand on that?
Yes, please.
My species does many different roles, but in particular, we are first contact specialists. I am part of the same team as the Bashars. The
Yes.
Lyrans act as more of a balancer and a nurturing nature. Palladians, because they are your genetic cousins, they act as more ground crew that allow them to move in and out of your society because they can look like you.
Mm-hmm.
And there are many other different jobs that are not quite what you would understand. One of my particular jobs, as I have described in the past of your experience, is to balance out the energy moving in and out of your North Pole.
Right. Thank you.
That is one of my jobs.
Yes. And are you still hovering over the North Pole?
Yes, I change position depending on where and when I need to.
Okay. Thank you. I have two more questions on the feed here.
Yes.
Thank you. Lola Bola. Hi, Ethan. Can you talk more about the mini moon that just arrived and how we can use these next 2 months of its visit to our best benefit? Thanks.
This particular object that is going to be in your orbit for the next 2 months is to start to help balance out the masculine energy on your planet. As you have the object of the moon that you currently have, which is more of the representation of the feminine energy, this particular object is a prelude to having a second moon in your sky that is much closer and much smaller than the one that you currently have, but it will act as a balancing mechanism. So, as you move forward into the next age of your planet, which is the age of Aquarius, you will be given the opportunity to have a much more balanced masculine nature as well as feminine in your men and women.
Thank you. In our society, it's quite clear that the masculine energy is way dominant.
Yes,
So this will help balance.
yes. It will have a balancing effect on your people.
Right. Thank you. So feminine energy is more peaceful way of finding things to do. Could be a lot more common sense.
Well, it is more the idea of creation. It's the more idea of caring and being present.
Mm,
When the masculine nature in a person is running on high, they tend to lean towards domination and destruction.
yes.
Whereas when the masculine nature in all aspects is in harmony with the feminine nature, it acts from a place of leadership.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Very good. I have a question here from Infinity Meta 6369.
Yes.
How to know slash recognize which star seed are we, and how do we use it to be purposeful to our current lifetime?
The particular energy of different races that are within you, and they believe me, they are very much inside of your DNA, is not as important as you think. The idea of needing that particular understanding to be fulfilled in your experience, how does it show up in your life? How does it move through your life? How does knowing these particular things allow you to be in a state of more repose and understanding yourself from a larger aspect? Does it give you joy? Does it give you the ability to have an understanding and perspective on your reality and how you interact with others? Does it give you the ability to be open to the idea? We would say to know which particular frequency you resonate most with, give yourself an open point to be able to decide and have the discernment to look at the particular star seed and star systems that you are connected to. Your counterparts are there to talk to you. If you give them an opening, they will start talking quite fast and give you many different gifts that you get to open.
Thank you, Ethan. Would you suggest how to connect to our counterparts?
We would suggest for you to be in resonance and look at various species that are out there, the different names of the species. Expose yourself to the idea of how they show up in history and what they offer to each of you as you move through the world, and how their experience and how their energy can imprint on you, and how you can integrate that particular energy that comes along with having a more active relationship. The channel in front of you, he asked for the idea of clarification, so he connected to me.
Thank you.
But he does have many other types of connections that he uses to channel through him to have more of an active communication with more aspects of his higher self.
For example,
The idea of what you understand as the Toltecs, he had a lifetime that is connected to a medicine man that has been quite informational for him to be able to understand how to connect more to nature, how to live more in understanding, and how he connects to reality, and to be beyond the idea of needing to take substances in order to fully expand his awareness. That was the previous guy that he was working with quite heavily prior to our introduction into his life.
I see. Thank you. I have a question here from Dan K. Schroeder. Greetings, Ethan. Can you talk about the role of the tall whites in first contact and open contact? Thank you.
The tall whites, as you refer to them, are the evolution of what you refer to as the Anunnaki. They are the evolved form. They are your ancestors, per se. They do grow quite large compared to my species. We are very minuscule compared to them, but we have interactions with them as well. They are here to welcome you back to the family and back into the wider world.
Do the tall whites walk amongst us?
Yes, some young ones for them. Anyways.
In human form or their own form?
They quite look very human when they are very young.
I see.
But understand their lifespan is much, much longer than yours. So they are able to take different forms at different points in their life.
Right. And do the humans around them, I guess they think they're just another person and then they just move away and they keep living.
Yes,
Right.
but understand they do come in and out of your lives. They do show up here on Earth because they do look very close to you when they're close to your size. But as they grow larger, their bodies change in shape and density and strength, so they can no longer walk among you like they do when they are much shorter.
That's very interesting. How many years until they get to that stage with the two bodies?
Roughly 80 to 90 years when they start growing very large.
And they would live 500 or 700 years?
Thousands.
Thousands. Okay. Okay.
Their lifespan in comparison to humans is very, very long.
Thank you. Which other species walk amongst us, Ethan?
There are many species that have the ability to camouflage themselves as humans and can take the form of whatever human they would like. They are actually reptilian species that originally originated on Earth that look quite human at this point, but originally they looked more like dinosaurs, had
Right.
more of their features. They have learned to camouflage themselves on your planet when they are among your people. There are many reptilian species that are out there that also have this ability that are not from your planet. There are Lyrans that come into your world that can camouflage themselves to look human, but when you look at them in their natural form, they don't even remotely look human.
Thank you. And those who camouflage themselves, whether it be a reptilian of a sort or a Lyran, they know they are them and they know they're in a disguise?
Yes, it's like putting on a mask for them.
Right.
It's like your Halloween season that is coming up. You understand that you wear costumes on that particular night, correct?
Absolutely, yes.
But you still know, even when you take that costume off or put it on, you are still yourself.
Yes.
You take a different form, but you're still you.
Yes, I see. So when we go home to sleep at night, where do they go?
Go off and sleep themselves. And they go off and move in and do other things, perform other jobs.
Okay. Are there any extraterrestrials that look human or human-like, and they do not know they're extraterrestrials? They believe they're humans.
No, typically any of the species or people that interact with yours that know they have this type of DNA integrated into them have a understanding that is inherent to being in that form that allows them to more connect to more of themselves, which they manifest abilities and understandings. They do not have the level of forgetfulness that you do as humans, and typically we do not send our children to roam the planet.
Thank you.
There are hybrid children that will live among you that do pop in and out occasionally, but they have the ability to shift and move through portals because they are able to identify the locations of different portals that they can move in and out of your reality.
Thank you. Are there any hybrids living among us now?
Only for short periods of time.
So all the humans or human-looking entities on the Earth are either humans or extraterrestrials in human form, fully knowing they're extraterrestrials.
Yes,
Thank you. That's fascinating. Thank you very much.
when you know more about yourself and have the level of understanding that comes along with coming from a much higher frequency, you don't forget. You
Right.
know who you are, you know what you are.
Thank you. I have a question from Val Madness here. What ET races inhabit the North Pole and South Poles of the Earth?
These are bases. You have a variety of different areas that work for different species. That and there are, by the way, many more locations around your world that are locations that are bases for us to work out of.
Thank you.
Understand that the different bases on your moon as well are observation posts so we can observe you in a close location, but not quite up in your atmosphere, not in a place where you could truly observe us.
Right. Thank you. Ethan, I heard a couple of channelers speaking of a flash of light, channeling about a flash of light. They will come to Earth and help everyone awaken, remember who they are, and then people will start to have memories of past lives, of memories of being in past or parallel lives with other people, and so on and so forth.
Yes,
Is this real, or is this just an idea?
it is an idea in nature, but it is an actual event that will occur in the next few years.
Did you say the
But what
next?
we are doing as work right now is helping you awaken slowly and in phases. So when the particular event does happen, it is not so disorienting.
Yes, because I would imagine if anything like this closely, remotely happens, it'll be panic in the streets.
Yes. Imagine you woke up to the full totality of your existence.
Yes.
Imagine you had and were able to see everything that was around you. You would know that you are never alone.
Yes.
But then at that point, when you have that full understanding, it would be very scary if you had not acclimated to the different levels that come along with moving up in frequency. The true flash itself is what many of you are experiencing, where you are unlocking the actual idea of your connection to other realities, other versions of yourself, other lifetimes. Life becomes much more fluid when you live this way.
What could one do to prepare for this event?
Relax. Take a breath. Do not hold your breath, because it will not happen when you are doing that. Go live your life. Be an example for others what it looks like to live in that way, and see that being integrated in your full being is what allows you to fully live with that understanding. Because many people who have not done the work will break.
Yes.
If they do not have an example of what it looks like to have that particular level of understanding, that awareness in their life, it will break them.
Yes. So this is an experience that is much larger than even a psychedelic trip of sorts.
Yes,
Well, that's enough to put someone in a psychotic space.
yes. Many of those that you see that have mental illness that have been on your streets or are in places where they are completely disconnected from your reality that you call crazy, those are people that have already had that type of break but did not do the work.
Right. Yeah, I know a couple of these people.
We would say have compassion for those that did not have guidance.
Yes. Thank you. Do you really think that you said the span of a few years this will happen? Do you really think in the span of a few years we can be ready?
Yes. What do you think we are doing currently? We are preparing many of you to have and be examples for those that will be going through a much more rapid evolution.
Thank you.
Much as the Bashar, when he speaks to your people, he speaks of many of the same things. We are here to amplify and give to a much smaller group a much more concise, much more direct, straightforward understanding.
Thank you. We are getting more views as time goes by because those videos are posted in many places.
Yes,
Good.
the opportunity to be able to move forward with your life more integratively, to not necessarily need others as a crutch to say, I cannot have this experience without this person. You can
Right.
have any experience you would choose to have at any time, but knowing that these things happen in their own timing. They don't all need to happen all at once. It would put you into a psychotic shock if you fully had that experience.
Thank you. Speaking of Bashar, I saw a clip from Bashar, and I'll describe the clip in a second, but I'm not sure if this was the Bashar or if this was AI manipulated clip. And the clip was Bashar speaking of the elections coming to the US, saying if the female wins, such and such will happen, and if the male wins, such and such will happen.
Yes.
Was this the Bashar or was this AI creation?
That particular event was an AI creation.
Thank you.
The reason why we say it was an AI creation is because the future is not determined. The different timelines that you can see going forward and going backwards are always in flux. So a particular prediction that might occur would not necessarily be correct. That is why we need not make predictions. Because it is a prediction of the moment, it is a particular frequency at that particular moment, but the future itself is not decided.
Right.
You have the idea of free will, correct?
Yes.
Well, if you make a decision to do something else beyond and outside of the prediction, that prediction becomes invalid.
Again, please.
If you decide to do something outside of the prediction and something else occurs beyond what we said, that particular prediction becomes invalid. That's why we do not make predictions many times. The idea of predictions are just a sensing of the energy of the moment. That is the particular momentum that could possibly happen. It is a possibility.
Right.
But you have free will. We do not want to hinder your free will to make a decision for your life.
Thank you, Ethan. There's a phrase in Hebrew that my father taught me, and it goes. I'll say it in English, but it goes something like, "The notebook is open and the hand is writing."
Yes.
And when I asked my father, "What does it mean?" he goes, "It's an open book. You can write your own life. This is up to you to do what you want to do, and you later you'll be judged by it. But this is your life. You write your own story."
Yes.
Yes.
There is no manual for being human.
Yes. On the same note, I used to ask my father when I was younger, "Dad, what should I do?" And he looks at me, he goes, "Whatever you
Whatever
think
you
is
want.
best." And that was it. And he would walk away.
He was giving you a gift of freedom to choose and have discernment for what you would like to have for your life.
Absolutely. Thank you. I have a couple more questions on the feed here.
Yes.
This one question we refer to, but I'll bring it up again because for the new audience, and you respond whichever way you like. Mate Jelinek is asking, what's hidden in Antarctica?
There are many labs and bases down there that you do not want to interact with. There are things in those places that are not safe for humans to be in or interact with. They are quite dangerous in nature. They have things in those laboratories that could very well hurt or destroy your human race.
Thank you. It's at some point, will this become public knowledge?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I have a question from Bell. Hi, Ethan. Wanted to ask about your thoughts about aphantasia, the inability to visualize, and whether it hinders the ability to manifest.
No. The ability to visualize more comes out of the understanding and relaxing the definition and giving yourself a more visual way of perceiving the reality. It does not necessarily require you to have a visualization of what something looks like. If you know what something looks like, or you have an insistence that it has to look a very particular way, it actually kind of hinders your ability to actually manifest. If you go more of a feeling route and allow yourself to use that as the guidance versus it needs to show up this one particular image, that in itself will hinder your ability to actually manifest if it has to look exactly like it did in your mind.
Right. Thank you. The answer will come. You just not always the form you expected it to.
Usually.
On that line, I heard someone this week saying that everything that you request, you should say it out loud.
Yes. And if it does not necessarily show up in the version or the way you think it should look, drop the insistence and know that it will show up in whatever form it needs to.
Thank you. What about something like a relationship? Someone, a lot of people these days, and we discussed this before, but I'll bring it up again. A lot of people say, "Why don't I have a mate?" And I've been asking for this mate. I've been doing the inner work, and still I've got no mate.
Because you are coming from a state of being lonely. Because you are in a state that says, I do not need a mate, or I am not in a place that is healthy for me to have a partner at this time. If you come from a state of lack with anything that you have, say you would like more money, more ability to do different things. If you come from a point of view of lack, it will never show up because that in itself is a frequency. But you are still abundant in that moment.
Thank you. I recall times I was asking for something. I would ask for money or whatever, and then I walk down the street. Somebody would give me like a free sample, and I would be elated. I thought that was it. Maybe I didn't get a $10 bill, but somebody gave me a free popsicle.
Yes. It showed up in the form that it needed to.
Yes. Okay, great. Ethan, how do you see how we are moving as a planetary society? Obviously, there's a lot of turmoil happening these days. Are we still in the right direction to be all of us to be friends at some point?
Yes. We would not be having these types of interactions if you didn't. If you were not headed that particular direction, we would not continually come through the channel.
Right. Could I say that perhaps uh, these violent interactions that we're seeing all over the place right now are almost like necessary to get it done with, to realize that maybe some actors need to be removed off, and then we want a new generation to come in and take a different approach.
Yes. I think we have said this statement to you many times in the past.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it always just boggles my mind how much more and longer these things are taking.
It's taking the time that it needs to.
Yes.
It is not going long, it is not going short. It is taking the exact amount of time it needs to for you as a collective to decide if you would like to continue on with that type of energy. It is your choice. It is your planet.
Thank you. I have a question for Val Madness here. If we focus on the feelings of having a specific thing 3 times a day during 10 minutes, what would happen in terms of speeding the manifestation?
It would make it 3 times faster. But understand at a certain point, you must stop focusing on it so it can manifest. If it's not in your energy field of possessing the object or the experience you would like to have in your life, if you are still in a place where that says, I am not worthy of receiving it, it will never show up.
Right. Thank you. Ethan, perhaps you can explain a little bit about the process of manifestation and how it works from a thought to the physical realm.
As we stated at the outset of this particular transmission, You must have a particular frequency that is in your field. If you are not of the proper vibration to match the experience of having that particular experience, you will never be able to manifest into your reality. Manifesting fills a desire, a frequency that is getting you to go a particular direction. When you have reached the point where you feel like you have the peak state of showing what you would like and how you would like to guide your life towards a particular thing, drop it altogether. Drop the experience, drop the idea of needing to say, I would like this thing to show up in my life, this experience, and allow yourself to relax, take a breath. Understand that if you are consistently saying, I would like to have this experience over and over and over again, it will never show up because you are repeatedly asking for the thing that you said you would like to have.
Right. Does it, thank you. Does it matter if one writes their wish or thinks about it or speaks it out loud or burns some incense or whatever?
They all carry your intention, your desire. It's the version that works best for you. It does not have to be one or the other, but understand one does carry a higher frequency and a higher rate of actually saying and bringing things into your life. What works for you?
What works for you? The Bashar talks a lot about permission slips.
Yes.
Would you say that, for example, using a deck of tarot cards, would that be permission slip to deliver a message that perhaps could be delivered without the cards themselves?
It can be if you understand that language.
Right.
Everything is symbol. Everything is metaphor in nature.
Thank you.
What permission slip are you using to decide that is it okay to know a thing that you asked to learn? It's your decision. It is your
Mhm.
choice, your discernment.
Thank you. Okay.
But we would also add to this particular understanding if something is not meant for you, things will show up in your way for you to have those experiences, have a much better awareness when delays continually happen that stop you from experiencing something. And when you actually reach the experience and you decided, oh, these delays were fantastic, it made me realize that I did not truly want to have this experience.
Right. Very good. Very good.
Be
Thank you.
aware. Use the smaller things, or else they will turn into bigger things that, like, that it's okay, or you probably never wanted to have the experience in the first place.
Yes. Very good. We have no more questions. Ethan, I'd love for you to summarize today's, and thank you for today.
The idea of today's transmission was being in more resonance and more harmonic with those things that you say you want and need in your life. Allow yourself to let go of it and the way it looks, and give yourself open space to be able to catch yourself and be fully present in the present moment. We bid you good day.
Thank you very much. Good day.